Court, what's going on? Just gonna tag you in.
See.
Hey Terrence, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well. What's going on?
Good. 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 First, can you hear me good?
Yeah, you sound good.
Perfect. Perfect. So, um, first, I just want to say thank you for doing this with me. Um, I've known you for a long time. Uh, Family to me. I love your family. Consider them family.
I love
I've
you.
been watching you. You've been doing an amazing job with Court. Um, and I've been watching everything that you've been doing during this pandemic, and how you're pushing the culture forward. So I just wanted to say thank you, number one, and I salute you. I've been so honored to know you down through the years. So yes, thank you again for doing this with me. So let's just get right into it. You are you love development. You are an educator.
Yes.
You got your master's degree in early childhood education, right?
My first, yes, and students with disabilities is a dual degree.
And perfect, perfect. So let's start there. I know that you are a mental wellness advocate as well,
Yeah.
as am I. So how do you think that mental health, affects the youth in your classroom? Like, what have you been seeing?
So considering it's the summer, we're not in the classroom itself,
Right,
right?
right, of course,
But
right.
I kind of get like twofold, where
Mm-hmm.
during remote, a lot of them were complaining about stress, saying
Mm,
it's too much work, it's too much, it's
mm-hmm.
too much. And when I took the time to reflect and break it down with them, it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
the work that was too much, it was the
Mm-hmm.
circumstance.
Wow.
So a lot of kids are dealing with anxiety. They have
Mm,
taken everything, the pressure of the classroom, and brought it home. And even with differentiation and modifying assignments so that they're not dealing with as much, the
mm-hmm.
idea of going to class at home is
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming for a lot of them. So
Wow.
think about the general ed student, right? A student
Right.
like you or I in school having difficulty. Now imagine having a disability on top of that.
Right.
They're
Wow.
dealing with the pressures of the world, and it's
Mm-hmm.
impacting how they're comprehending and how they're navigating in the classroom. And I really, my heart goes out to them. I try to help them as much as I can because it's an unfortunate situation, you know?
Mm-hmm. Of course. So let's take it back to when things were a little bit more normal, right?
Mm.
Let's just say like last year. And you teach, I believe it's sixth graders, right?
6 and 7, yeah.
Sixth and seventh graders, and special needs, right? So how, like, when you were in the classroom, how do you think mental health played a part in their learning on a regular basis?
Oh, it was everything. It
Mm-hmm.
was everything. It's so many facets to just what mental health looks like in a classroom.
Right.
So first, as the educator, I want to reevaluate my mind frame, right? Because if
Right.
I personally walk into the classroom with an attitude and I'm looking at the kids around, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to give off that energy. But if I come in excited and we're ready to learn and we're activated, the kids are
Mm-hmm.
too. So,
Right.
one, you're automatically affecting the mental wellness of a human being in
Right.
general by the energy you provide to them. So
Mm-hmm.
even for parents, if you're at home and you're educating your child and you're like, you got to get up for class, you need to do this, you need to do that, they
Right.
don't want to do it. They're not excited about it. They don't feel energized. But if you're
Wow.
like, hey, we're going to sit in class today and knock out this math and ELA, and after that, you can have your hour on the PlayStation, then they're like, okay, I could do that. I might be able to negotiate with you because you're offering them choice and perspective. And I think
Wow.
that's one of the biggest things with mental wellness is being able to shift your perspective. So even beyond just how I present myself to the kids in the classroom, I want to say how they work with each other, right? So a
Right.
student with disabilities may find it more difficult to make friends. So they have to be
Right.
presented the opportunity to do that and then to role play. They need to learn how to build relationships. You can't just tell someone go outside and play if they really don't understand the concept of relationships. So
Wow.
understanding disability is a big part in mental wellness. Like, what is the root of their misunderstanding or their misconnection? And then how do we plan for those misunderstandings?
Wow, man, that's very powerful. And I mean, kids are blessed to have somebody like you who can actually take the time to do those things, to be honest with you. And you know, I salute all teachers. It's not easy, to be completely honest with you. They are overworked and many times underpaid. And that's just
No,
on a
not me.
general, you know. So again, salute to you, because it's so important to have, especially representation in
Mm.
education, with somebody like yourself. So let's talk a little bit about more about mental wellness. So if it's so important, especially for our young people, right, to learn about mental wellness, and mental health. So why do you think that, especially in our communities, that's not a big talking point?
So we have had our minds warped for
Mm-hmm.
centuries. So
Mm-hmm.
if you enslave a person and if
Mm-hmm.
you decide to destroy their mind so that you can control their body, why would you want their minds to do well? Why would
Mm-hmm.
you promote that? Think about
Mm-hmm.
the economics of the world and how slavery and everything else affects us. Why would you promote the wellness of the mind when that is the thing that you are trying to break down, capture, and destroy so that you can control, divide, and conquer?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man, you just said a mouthful right there. I gotta go back and write that down. Man. Um, and with that said, so how do we change this narrative? So we know what happened in the past, right? So how do we change and also navigate from never having this conversation on mental health, especially with our children, our black boys and girls? And how do we just now just kind of change the narrative and switch and say, hey, listen, this should be a core curriculum. Now, it may not be taught in schools, but even just in the home, like with our brothers and sisters and things like that. And as parents, I know I'm not a parent yet, and you're not a parent yet, but how would you advise somebody to start changing the narrative in their house of having these
So
conversations? And yeah, go ahead.
I would start with just perspective. You got to work on you
Mm-hmm.
first, because if
Mm-hmm.
I believe that I'm going to have a great day, some bad things
Mm-hmm.
might happen, but
Of
overall, I'm
course.
going to have a pretty good day.
Right.
So it's your perspective shift. So when you see a child upset and angry, right, instead of going crazy and being frustrated, your first instinct should be, and it takes a while to develop that instinct, right? It's practice. You
Right.
should think
Mm-hmm.
and say, why is he acting like this? And then if you don't know, ask.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much power in asking a child why they're doing something, because now they are forced to reflect and think about what they're feeling. So that
Mm.
simple act of, and calmly, right? You don't need to raise your voice, and you can still be stern and strict without screaming, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
very a teacher move that I gotta look where the kids are acting up or like they're doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's just a simple, I'm not playing with you. I
Right.
asked you to put the book down 3 times and you didn't listen to me. Why are you acting like this? What is it that I'm
Right.
not understanding? And they will be able to say, she said this and da, 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 and when they let it out and you gain the understanding, you're like, oh, it has nothing to even do with what we're doing now. You're affected by something else. So let's talk about that, and really
Mm-hmm.
allowing them to get to the root of why they're feeling so that they can then later on work through situations like that when you're not around.
Mm-hmm.
So I really feel like in the home, taking an opportunity to talk to your kids about things that they like, ask them
Mm-hmm.
why they are doing certain things, and if they don't know why, make them sit down and write about why. You're not getting up until
Mm.
you tell me why.
Mm.
Because
Powerful.
once
And
that child, it does so many things, right? That simple act.
mm-hmm.
It's improving their reflective practicing skills. It's improving their writing skills, and it's improving their expressive language skills. So now you've hit 3 things on the head with what looks like a consequence, but it's really you being able to have your child grow. They're able to grow internally so they can then grow socially, emotionally, physically, and career-wise.
I love all that. And it's funny because when my mom was a teacher too, and I would come back to the classroom and watch her with kind of the difficult student, right, as they would be labeled, and she would break them down a lot with communication and probing questions, kind of just like what you were saying, and they would open up to her more so than any other teacher, and they would always send them, those students to my mom, and she would always get in and navigate what was the root cause of what was going on. And it broke down a lot of barriers, man. So what you're saying is 200% true. And the one thing that you did touch on is expression. That's huge. And communication skills and expression. And especially, and I'm very passionate about that, especially with our young boys, because they really need to learn how to communicate and how to express from a young age and be given that opportunity to do so. And that's something that I believe in the classroom too. So if they're not getting it at home, then they have a teacher like yourself, right, that understands how important those 2 things are, to allow them to go ahead and to express themselves and to communicate and write things down. I'm a big component of journey. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you're saying like a teacher like myself, and that just bothered my spirit because I don't think I should be an anomaly. I think it should be normal. I think it should be normal for children to have educators feed into them and pour into their perspective and spirits. So I don't know how that's going to work, but we're going to do something about that because I'm not okay with that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but that's it's a great point that you brought out. It's because a lot of times it's not normal because a lot of teachers are overworked and overpaid. And underpaid rather, right? They bring that into the classroom and they bring the regular stresses of the world into the classroom. And a lot of times I've seen that they've taken that out on the youth and on the kids. I've walked in schools where I've seen, man, these teachers berate these kids, yell in their face, and it's just like, whoa. Like, where's the compassion, right? Like, where is your communication skills, right? So, I don't know how we can. Go ahead.
So, I think we have to know our student, right? So, in most cases, I would say you should never yell at a child, right? But in the classroom, where a student is used to that type of treatment at home, I can't talk to him first. I have to bring him to my level, right? And even when kids are screaming, acting up, you want to meet them and bring them to your level. So if someone is screaming, I might go, who asked you what you're doing? I need to understand why this is happening so that we can, because they need to hear the chaos because that's what's familiar to them. So they might hear the chaos for a second and then be reeled into what's normal because they have to transition to this phase. Even when someone's yelling, if y'all are having a screaming match, nobody's hearing each other. Sometimes you have to meet that person at their octave and then bring them down so that y'all can actually reason and make it make sense. So the teacher that yells, if she is strategic, that can be the most effective tool in her toolbox. But if she is not strategic, that can be the most damaging tool in her toolbox. So intentionality is important.
Man, I love that. You dropping some gems. Oh boy. So when it comes to, the whole system of education, right? And we understand what goes on as far as how much teachers are paid and things like that. How do we get that part to change? Because these are the very people that's investing in our youth as it stands. is the teachers. They're with the kids, what, 8 hours a day, 7 hours a day, right? So they're the one that is investing in our youth. So how can they truthfully invest in our youth when they're not even being invested in themselves? You know,
So
I think that's problematic.
it is problematic, but it makes me think that America would have to shift their view on education for that to occur.
Right.
In many other countries, educators are as valuable for the work that we do as doctors are, because doctors heal the body and we heal the mind. So
Right.
in most countries, we are seen as that equal counterpart, but in America, we're not. So as far as finances, I personally don't see that occurring unless educators decided to demand taxes and all these other things be raised, because keep in mind, unless you work in a private school, you're an educator in a public sector for a reason, right? Because we could have went to Catholic school, we could have went to charter school, we could have went to all these other schools. They don't require as much degrees as we have to get. Like, to be a city employee and work in the public sector, you probably gonna have to spend at minimum like $30K, because you got to get your degree. You have to take about 15 to 20 exams. You have to continuously renew your license. You have to go through professional development consistently. Like, we spend a lot to even get into the field, and then we have to continuously grow in the field. But at the same time, although we're doing a lot of investing in our career, I think the fact that it's a public sector is what keeps the rates so low. Like, the government is like, if we have to fund it, we're not gonna give you what you deserve. We're gonna give you what we think we are able to dish out or you deserve.
Man, that's truly an uphill battle. And that's tough, you know. And so to me, it's like, I think you have to be really passionate, like somebody like yourself, to do this work. Right. Because me talking to you about education is almost was like talking to my mom about education, because I used to say, Mom, how do you do it? Truthfully, like, how do you do it? I've seen the kids in there, and I'm not saying that they're bad, but I don't have the patience for it. I know I don't.
You might have
I
a couple
know
bad
200.
ones. It's okay.
You know, but I know I don't. I don't have what you have. Like, I have different sets of skills, but I can't do that for 7 hours a day.
You say you can't. You say you can't, but you have to. It's a perspective shift. It's so funny that we need more teachers of color, right? The average
of course.
teacher with no experience and only a bachelor's degree starts at $50,000 at minimum. I think actually that might even be underselling it. I think right now they're starting at like $55,000 or $56,000 a year. And that's to start. Every single year that you are a New York City educator, you get a raise. So we are paid for our job. We're just not paid what we deserve. We're not paid that, because, to be quite honest, the amount of hours that I put in, I honestly believe that I should be making about $130K right now as a 6th year.
I know.
Right? So at minimum, right? Because as I grow in my career,
for real.
I'm making way more than that. But the reality of it is, as you take the time to learn in education, as you take the time to grow in your field, you realize that there is a passion in preserving the mind. And I think that's what keeps me going, right? It's not the fact that I'm dealing with behaviors all day, because once you get that bad kid, his attention, and you understand why he's quote unquote bad or she's quote unquote bad, you no longer have a bad child. You have someone you can communicate with. You have someone you can build with. And 9 times out of 10, that quote unquote bad kid is a leader, a natural born leader who needs to determine how to hone in and use their leadership skills for positive reasons. And when you can capture the mind of that type of child and really let them know you are genuinely there for them, you no longer have behavior issues. So now you're able to teach content. You're able to explore. You're able to add fun and life and activity into it because you took the opportunity to shift your perspective and deliver information in a way that they could relate to it. Not a way that you could relate to it, but a way that the child could relate to it. And that perspective shift is so important.
And what you're saying is so powerful, you know, and you know, when I say me, I think everybody has to know, right, where I think their strengths are, right? And so when I say it's not for me, I kind of know 5 days a week, 7 hours a day. I just, you know, I don't know. That's just not for me. I'm more of a trainer, workshop, facilitator, come in for a day and I'm out. And,
So
you
I
know,
do that
and you
every
go
day.
to yeah, yeah. And then I'm out. But, you know, we need, truthfully speaking, and I'm not just saying this because, you know, I've known you for years and your family, but truthfully, we need more people and more teachers like you know,
I
who
agree.
actually will have this passion, that has this passion, to do what it is that you do, and do it well. So you are to be applauded for that, because it's so needed to have representation in our community to do the work that you do. So with that said,
I think
so let's
there's
talk about
Britt or
adult.
Brenda. Hi. Hey guys. Hey guys in the chat.
Hey, what's going on? So let's kind of shift gears towards stress, because you mentioned it earlier about, you know, some of the kids having anxiety and things like that with everything that's been going on, right here today. And I know stress management. I mean, when I was going to school, it wasn't a thing. Do you think that learning about stress management should be introduced in the classrooms,
I
and
think that stress
not like gym,
management is
and not like gym class, but like real stress management?
I don't think it should be called stress management
Right.
because stress looks different for every single person. But I do think it
Hmm.
should 100% be in everything that we do, right? It's
Hmm.
just in this concept like telling the kid go study, and then you're like,
Yeah.
how am I supposed to study? Like, just go do it. But how?
Right.
What am I gonna do? You
Hmm.
take a book, you go through the chapter, you align it to the key points, you relate it and determine what's the key point and how and whatever it is that they're studying for, everything will be different, right? So it's teaching them how to use their skills. So
Right.
stress management doesn't need to be this class on stress management. It should be in the day. So
Right.
if a child is having a behavior, they should go through a reflective practice because usually behaviors come from stress. Something is
Hmm.
affecting you and that's why you're acting out, right? Avoidance. If a child is avoiding everything, they don't want to do anything. That is a trigger that's showing that they are stressed. So they need
Hmm.
avoidance management, right? So I think
Hmm.
that we should steer away from the term stress and really
Hmm.
focus on trigger. What is triggering this
Trigger.
behavior? What is triggering this emotion? What is
Right.
triggering this activity so that we can really hone in and, you know, plan for those
Right.
misunderstandings?
Mm. That's very, 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 very powerful. Wow. And that's true, because I really didn't think of it in that way. Because because when I was growing up, that wasn't even remotely thought of. You know,
Yeah, I
like we
know.
were taught very, very differently. Yeah, you know, we were very taught very, very differently. So wow, I definitely appreciate that perspective. So let's shift it to adults. So what are some of your best practices in mental health and mental wellness? So like, what do you do to kind of de-stress? What do you do um, to kind of decompress? Like, what's some of your best practices that you would suggest?
So first, I definitely had to take time to learn myself. This pandemic
Mm.
allowed me to learn so much, and not even just the pandemic. Like throughout the last few years, and even just being an educator, I'm forced to be a reflective practitioner. Right? I have to know
Right,
in my
right.
career how to plan for the next day. So that means I have to know what did I do right today and do it
Mm-hmm.
again. what did I do wrong today and fix it for the next time? And then
Mm.
how do I add my own pizzazz and creativity to it? So in our own lives, I would suggest that we do a similar type of reflection where we're saying, okay, what happened in my day and how is it making me feel? Now that I have an understanding of what I'm feeling, let me dig a little deeper and think about why I'm feeling that way. And once you're able to really tune into who you are as an individual, you will then be able to elevate and figure out what it is that moves you. Because a morning for me, a normal day where I'm able to just decompress looks like starting my day in prayer, throwing on some gospel music and just blasting and being in worship. And then after that, I might throw in some twerk music and start dancing and playing around, right? And then after doing that, I'm going to jump into some work. I'll have something to eat, and then I'll take a break and I'll start drawing. And I'm throughout my day, I'm planning breaks that relate to things that I love. So I know every morning I'm going to start with worship and playing around. Then I'm going to get into some work. Then I'm going to plan out another break, and I'm going to get into some drawing. Then I'm going to do some more work. Then I'm going to record a couple videos, and then I'm going to get back into some stuff at work. And then my day is done, and I don't want to be bothered until the next. So it's planning for those breaks and planning for your peace that I find the most effective practice.
Wow. That's perfect. Wow. So I know we talked about this the other day, but community strategy and having some action items for the state of our community. And what does that look like? I mean, we have there's a lot of different issues and problems that go on in our community, right? And of course, there's the racial inequalities that's going on right now. We understand that, and we know that. To me, a big one is in our finances, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So, and then there's just general education, right? Employment and things like that. So there's a lot of different action items that we have in our community that needs to be addressed. So where do you think we start with that? To me, I tuned into your live yesterday, and you were having a great discussion on wealth. I did one a couple weeks back with Joel. I think those type of conversations are very, very needed to attack our finances, to attack some of the things that's going on as far as our debt, income, savings, and of course, and things like that. That's a part of it, of having these types of conversations, right? But what else do you think that we could do to attack some of these issues that plague our community?
So one, Joel even helped me with a perspective shift. Watching you guys.
Shout out to Joel.
Right.
Happy birthday, bro. Happy birthday, brother.
Happy birthday. Now
it was yesterday.
You Terrence family, you my family.
Yeah, definitely.
He definitely allowed me a perspective shift when I heard him say, we don't have communities, we have neighborhoods. We have places where people reside, not places where people are going through transactional methods of growth. And not just from an economic standpoint, that hits every single aspect of our community. In education, we don't want to go to school. We don't want to be in the classroom. We're bored. We're aggravated because we're not given a community to thrive in education. Right. Black people thrive off of art. We thrive off of culture. We thrive off of community. Why is that not embedded in the normal routines of the school environment? I honestly believe it is our duty to revamp and revise education. We are supposed to make sure that we are educating the way that these kids are learning. If that child is on the game every single friggin' day and doesn't want to get off, we need to have developers create a game that the kids can get on and play mathematical content with. go through those ELA stories, and while they're watching the different things happening on anime, have little pop-ups where they have to fill in the blank and answer questions and really engage. We have to teach kids how they learn. And I think we're not taking enough time in our communities to invest in our children. Right now, education is a big pot where people are trying to take a piece of it instead of cultivating it. And that's just the issues in our community. So we need to, I believe, come to one, educating each other, saying, hey, these are the resources that I have at my disposal, take them. If anybody is on this live and you're like, I need resources for X, Y, and Z, and I am able to offer, take them. I have no issue sharing wealth, of knowledge of wealth, no issue with sharing resources to attain wealth. And I believe more people need to get in that mindset. So being okay with sharing. How do you share knowledge? How do you share
right?
How do you share information? How do you share? How do you share peace and harmony? How do you share love? What do we share? We are so stingy, and we are so to ourselves, and so this is mine, and this is the only thing I have territory over. We don't even want to share our friends, so we don't even allow them an opportunity to grow. So if we're so territorial over everything, how will we allow our minds to expand beyond what we already know? We have to get into these routines of sharing. And I think that's the most effective thing that we can do as a people. So if I know that I have access to someone in real estate and you're looking to buy a home, and these people on this side of the country are trying to charge you an arm and a leg, but I know this person can get you a better deal, I'm going to share the plug. It's no reason for me to not do it, because if my family is growing while I'm growing, I'm winning. Who wants to be around people that are starving their entire lives? You want the people that are with you to eat with you, so no one is hungry. Because the person that's hungry is going to do one of two things. They're going to be outcasted or remove themselves from the situation, or they're going to come in and they're going to cause turmoil and chaos and just break everything apart. And both of those are bad for the family. Both of those are bad for development. And Black people as a family, we are either running away from the issues that society is throwing at us, or we're causing chaos in them. We need to get to a point where we become comfortable with sharing resources so that we have this outward reach of growth, and then also being comfortable saying, hey, this person is asking me for a favor. Let me figure out how they can benefit me as well. Or I'm going to ask this person for a favor. Let me see how I can benefit them, since I'm the one coming to them. And don't look at that as an issue, but look at it as sharing growth. It's not, oh, you asking me for this because I asked you. No, we're coming to a mutual understanding that I respect your craft. You respect my craft. I want to see you win. You want to see me win. So we're going to win together.
Powerful, so powerful. And something so as small as working together, right? And not everything is about a profit, right? Like, so in a couple weeks, I'm doing a IG live for 2 hours with somebody who is going to be with me, and she's an HR executive, and she is going to really run the gamut. Me and her are going to both run the gamut on everything from career. It's going to be career focused. So it's going to be about resume writing. It's going to be about interviewing. It's going to be about negotiating salaries. It's everything, right? So I put that out on my IG story that's going to be happening in a couple weeks. And if you know somebody who can benefit from all of that, then just tell them to pop on IG Live. And somebody texted me and they were like, why don't you do it as a Zoom and charge? And I'm like, listen, I get it. Listen, we all out here to make money. We all trying to make money. Believe me. And of course, this right here is going to be valuable information, 110%. I already know, because I'm very well versed in HR, and she's very well versed in HR too, in what she does. And we're going to come together and do it together for 2 hours. And they're like, yo, do a Zoom and charge. And I'm like, that's not what we're doing. Like, we're going to give this to our community for free.
That's right.
And because we want people to succeed. We want people to be able to be educated and say, hey, so when they go to the table, they know how to negotiate. So when they sit down with their resume, they know what to write. So when they sit down across from somebody, they know how to interview, how to prepare for promotion, and things like that. Like, we're going to cover a lot of these different things in those 2 hours. And people are like, man, like, you should charge for that, man. That, like, you can make a lot of money. And I'm like, that's not what it's about right now. Like, we're in the pandemic. People are losing their jobs left and right. You know what I'm saying? It's
But not
about
even
pushing the
just
culture
considering the
forward.
pandemic. Think
No, it's
about the
not. But I
power.
mean, go ahead.
I was like, think about the power in providing a free service, right? So we're
Yeah,
on this live right now, and we're doing this for
100%.
free. We're
Yeah.
offering the community insight to our perspective as professionals to something that a lot of people would have to pay for, because I do
Yeah.
professional developments, and most people do
Mhm.
have to pay for my time and my services. But
Yep.
what you open the door for is an opportunity for more people to be inspired. So
Mhm.
now you're creating relationships without even knowing you're creating
Mhm.
relationships. Because who's to say that someone comes on, sees the live, and is like, wow, that was really dope. That was a great perspective on
Mhm.
stress management, and I really want to learn more. So now let me hit
Yep.
her up and ask her about this, and let me figure this
Right.
out. Or let me then spread the message and actually use the strategies in my household. So now
Mhm.
doing a free service, you have positively impacted multiple
Right.
families. Whereas if
Right.
you charge for it immediately, you only have one sort of audience.
Mhm.
Only the people that paid are going, when you could have had a greater reach. So
Right.
many things I do think do need, you have to eat. So you want to
Yeah, of course.
create contracts or agreements and make sure you're making money on the back end. But
Mm.
certain things, when you have a passion for growth, you do
Yep.
genuinely for your community. You do to see the people that you care about succeed.
Exactly. And that's why when we had this idea, we discussed it, and we were just like, this is an amazing opportunity to really to galvanize our community so that when they get into these positions of employment and career, that they'll be able to just hit the ground running and go. And that can
Yep.
create more wealth opportunities, more career opportunities, and so that they can push it forward. Because when we had this discussion, it was like, it's needed in our communities. And working when I was working in nonprofit and I was teaching job readiness training courses, wow, I took for granted everything that I knew. I thought, I was like, well, everybody knows this stuff. I don't know why I'm teaching it. And then the first day, my first class, and when I realized people don't know a lot of these things about resumes, about interviewing, about negotiating salaries, about follow up after interview, like I said, I thought everybody knew this.
Mm.
I was like, oh, okay. So then I understood. And that's how I got the passion for it. And then when I was in corporate, I was, interviewing and hiring people. And so it's just, and then being in HR, being in recruiting as well, knowing the pitfalls, knowing what a lot of these hiring managers are looking for. This powerful information that a lot of people, yeah, nah. So I'm saying it's a powerful information that people don't know, And so when I got with Stana, I said, hey, we got to do something. Because because we just did a live about a week ago, and people were asking her follow-up questions to our live, and me too. So we said we should come together again and do something big for the community, and just do it free. So I'm just saying, I said that just to say, everything that you said is 100% true. We need to
And
work together.
Terrence, look,
We,
look, because even more so, I don't even know if you understand the impact that you're making. Like, what you're doing is great. It's really like an expansion, because now you're creating an arsenal, right? So
mm,
we're doing these lives and connecting, and then we're connecting to other people doing lives. We're connecting to
yeah.
viewers, and as we are growing in our careers, they have the
Hmm.
opportunity to do so also. So now I can come to you and say, hey, Terrence, I need a life coach to come into this room and do XYZ for my students. I need someone that can speak to my kids about mental wellness. I need someone
Hmm.
who's a rapper that can come in and add art to whatever it is that we're doing. So now
Right.
you are expanding your resources by offering
Yep.
services for free. And I'm not saying offer every service for free. I'm
Of
saying
course.
offer things that will benefit the growth of your brand.
Hmm.
And that's what these lives are doing, because I don't make money off of these lives, but I make sure that
No.
I stick to them. I do what I got to
Yep.
do because I know
Mm-hmm.
on the back end, I'm going to receive a greater profit than I would have made for charging someone to come in and watch me speak on a Zoom. I'm going to
Right.
receive a greater profit in resources. I'm going to receive a greater profit as far as networking. I'm going to see a greater profit in being able to view and reflect on what it was that I'm doing because I have the video footage to go back to. That being able to expand your resource, I personally believe is way more valuable than charging someone a one-time fee to say, hey, thank you, ma'am, and never see them again. You want to think in this return. Like what kind of return am I going to get on my investment? And that's what you're doing by offering that service. So I definitely commend you for that. And it comes back to the idea of group economics, right? Us sharing resources, us investing in our mental health to say, hey, I am so overwhelmed by work right now. Oh, I remember that when my dad was doing X, Y, and Z and he was overwhelmed with work, it made me be stressed out. So the idea of being overwhelmed gives me anxiety. So now I'm going to handle that a little differently, right? So learning about what in your childhood trauma is affecting your adulthood lifestyle will really impact your mental wellness and help you to develop that connectivity that you need to continue growing.
You just said a whole lot, and I loved it. Man, yeah. The gems that you're dropping is absolutely incredible. Wow. Jeez. You have grown a lot, my friend. Wow, you have a lot of wisdom. Um, it's like I said, well, again, thank you for doing this. I do appreciate it. And so I think at this point, what I want to do is to ask you one question, and that's if you look back to your 20-year-old or 18, 19, 20-year-old self, what would be one piece of advice that you would give her?
I would tell my 20-year-old self
Mm.
to not allow fear to step in the way of your greatness.
Mm.
I believe that fear is the number one killer of adventure, of exploration, of growth. And even for myself, fear has often created an imposter where I may not feel good enough to sit in a room with people that have all these doctorates and doing all these different things. And I had to come to the realization that God does not call the qualified. He qualified the called. So if he's calling you on a mission and he's calling you for a purpose and he's calling you for a reason, it is your duty to remove fear from your life so you may complete it. Because it's going to be terrifying, but do not allow the fear to stop you from succeeding. And I think I would have been doing this type of work a lot earlier had I not let fear step in the way. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate all the lessons I learned along the way. But that's just a piece of wisdom that I would have appreciated having and someone dropping on me at that time in my life. And that quote did not come from me. That's from Live in the Den with Rebecca in the morning. She was on there with a guy. I can't remember his name, but Jassiel or something of the sort. And he said, and that touched me, and I've been running with it. Like
that hit me just now. You gotta say that again.
God does not call the qualified; He qualifies the called. Working your purpose.
That right there. Woo, that is a quotable in and of itself. Wow, that hit me in a special way. But you're right though. Fear. But another thing that you just said, you said that fear creates an imposter. Ooh. Was that you?
No. That's Rebecca.
Okay, it doesn't matter. it doesn't matter, but that's powerful though. And it's something I never thought of in that way about fear creating an imposter of somebody who that's not really you.
It's
and
so
it makes
true.
you think,
Because
Wow.
fear will have you thinking that you're not able to be successful. Fear will have you thinking that you can't be good enough. Fear will have you hating on somebody. Fear will have you judging somebody else because You know you're not good enough to do that, so they can't be good enough to do it. So now you're talking crap about them. That's your fear being projected onto someone else. So fear will allow you or force you into a box. We are not beings meant to be boxed. We were not forced to be in, we were not born to be in cages. And fear will force you and trap you into a cage. At some point, you got to find your way out. You have to take the time to invest in your mental wellness and to reflect and to learn about yourself so you can wake up, because it's easier said than done. It is a mission to, and I still invest in my mental health daily so I can continue to grow. But the reality is fear will come in and create this imposter syndrome and make you believe that you are not good enough. Fear will make you think that you can't venture out and jump on and be as good or better than someone else because of comparison and judgment, when the only person you should have been competing with was the person you was yesterday. When I go on live or do different things, make content, I'm not looking at other creators for ideas. I'm looking at my videos and my work multiple times to say, what did I love about it? What did I not like about it? And how do I make it better? So I'm competing with me every day. And that's what fear will stop you from doing. Fear will have you competing with the rest of the world. Let the imposter go. Tell them to get out of here. Invest in yourself so that you can grow.
That's so powerful and in so many different ways. And also stop looking to people to validate you.
That's right.
I know that we're human. And listen, I fall victim to it. Like when I first did my first live, and I just started this whole platform with this incredible girl, this young woman, and you know, I said people need to hear what she got to say. People they have to hear it. I want them to hear it. And then when I went on the live, and I think it peaked up to about 10 people. And I didn't feel validated that people were watching, right? So I was a little bit upset. And it's mind you, it's as I was doing the live, I was getting a little heat. I'm not gonna lie to you, because she was spitting so much facts and gems as you are. And she's 26 years old and she's in STEM and she has two nonprofits. And I'm like, yo, people need
people need to see it.
Yeah.
And
so
that's a big thing. Like, but don't get invested in who's in the room, who's not in the room.
Right.
You invest in who is in the room, right? Because
of course,
those people that are up there on that live right now, guess what? They're sitting there saying, hey, this is valuable, and they'll be touched. And then hopefully, God willing, they go and touch somebody else. And then the cycle continues, right? So I'm not trying not to worry about who's not in the room, because the people that are in the room are worth your investment, right?
So let me tell you how that works. So during the live, I was like, oh, okay, all right, whatever. And I finished it, and I was a little bit irritated. You know, just the human part of me. I was just very irritated. I was like, oh man, this is so good. And I'm like, man, I said, you know, I bet you if I was doing some music stuff, some ratchet stuff, some sports or this or that, I would have, you know, I started going with that mentality and stuff like that, just going down that black hole. And literally, I think 10 minutes after I posted the video, 10 minutes later, I got a message from somebody who I haven't spoken to in like, you know, a few months. And they were just like, I saw it live. It was completely amazing. It touched me and it inspired me to now start something that I wasn't doing. And I was just like, okay, like it just,
that was your
just
confirmation.
Like that. It was. And I was just like, okay, so I understood. And same thing like you said, it's not about the thousands of people that's supposed to be, it's about who exactly that you're speaking to at that moment. And even if you can get one person and change their life, then that means that it was worth it. And it definitely just changed my whole perspective. And then since I've been doing it, probably like yourself, I've been getting the same type of confirmations that of the reasons why I'm doing this work.
Right.
And that's why I'm so happy that you're doing this work, because you are a powerful young woman. Powerful to the highest. And I think even just by me doing this live with you, I think I've learned, you know, so much, even just about you. You might think you know a person, you might think you might know how powerful that they really are, but when you do stuff like this, you really get to see how powerful that they really are, and you are a force to be reckoned with. And I'm so glad you are educating our youth. I'm so glad that that's what you're doing, because we need people like you and educators like yourself. We got about 10 minutes left. So is there anything, just first of all, drop people where they can find you on social media, just so people can find you, connect with this woman, because she is amazing. Please tell them.
So my name is Court. I am open to connection as far as development, what it is that you need. If you are a small business and you're trying to become a DOE vendor, I can definitely help you with that. I believe that all small businesses need to have a DOE vendor license. I'm organizing a summit September 2nd where I'm bringing multiple principals, assistant principals, superintendents in a room with small business owners who have DOE vendor licenses, so that there's no red tape and they can hire them to work and actively promote their businesses in the school setting. So please get your DOE vendor licenses. And September 2nd at the BU Summit, it is going to be amazing. I'll drop the link and we'll start promoting August 2nd. It is going to be phenomenal, the amount of gems that's going to be dropped. I kind of just sat down and understood that the biggest issues in our communities were academics, economics, and consciousness. I said, what is it that we're missing, right? We're missing that investment in academics. It's not cool. It's friggin' boring. Then we're missing the investment in consciousness. We weren't taught to do it because slavery was the decomposition of our minds. So they're not going to tell us to invest in our health, because why would you tell somebody to invest in their mental health when you use their mental health to control them, right? So we need to get into that for ourselves. And then economics. We do not control import, export, goods, food, or anything else of the sort. So how do we then effectively build our communities? So this summit is going to be designed for that community, and then to throw everything about ageism out the window. We're going to have experienced older professionals talking to middle-aged professionals, talking to students that already own businesses, and they're going to be on a panel discussion discussing these topics, these terms, and how we can grow. After we discuss how we grow, we're going to have breakout rooms and jump right into those vendor principal relationships, direct networking, direct community growth. So it's someone in Queens who is a Black vendor and has no access to schools, or Brooklyn or Staten Island in the boroughs. So you're in the boroughs and you have no access and you are a small business, get your DOE vendor license. That summit, we are plugging you in. Please take advantage. Please take advantage.
That's amazing. And when can they catch your live?
So Wednesday, I'm live at 5.
Live at 5? Don't you do a lunch one too at 11, or you moved it?
So that was, okay, during remote learning, I did an 11:30 live. That was kind of my way of saying, I need a break from all this chaos, and I'm going to take my lunch to talk to people. Since I can't talk to people at work, I'm going to talk to people online, right? But now considering that my workday has changed and I have been really focusing on adjusting back to remote learning and adjusting to blended learning, what that's going to look like for the fall, I had to just be practical about what timing was and how effective it would be. So Wednesdays, I kind of rotate between 2 times. I either go live at 5 or I go live at 6:30. But next week we'll be live at 5.
Perfect. Listen, I always try to tune into you as much as possible, because it's like I said earlier, what you're doing is absolutely amazing. Thank you for being you. We only have a few minutes left. So Court, follow her, connect with her. She is an amazing person. Just beyond her accolades, she's an amazing soul, a queen to the highest order. I appreciate you. I honor you. And your family. Please say hello to your mom for me, please. Hey, listen, if that's it, I don't have anything else. You gave us a lot of soul food for us to eat right before dinner. So, thank you for that. You know what I'm saying? A lot to digest, but thank you for doing this with me, and I really appreciate it. And listen, so I hope to do your show again. I'm sure I'll have you come back on here and talk some more, because you are amazing and powerful.
Oh, I
Thank
would
you.
love to
Keep doing your
have you.
thing.
Thank you so much.
All right, keep doing your thing. Appreciate you.
Have a good one,
All right,
guys. Thank you for tuning in.
later. Take care.